Today's lesson is about rewriting subtraction problems as addition problems. So you're going to be able to write an equivalent addition number sentence given any subtraction problem. Now, before we kind of just get into the converting piece, we want to really think about how can I write an addition and a subtraction number sentence that represent the same problem. Now, in our previous lesson, we were talking about how to add integers using number lines. And this skill is going to help us be able to subtract integers using a number line because we're actually going to be following the addition rules. So being able to convert from subtraction to addition is going to be extremely important. So we're going to kind of think about it in terms of stories that kind of help us see how we can write two different number sentences that give us the same answer. One's addition, one's subtraction. So let's look at the first example. You're watching your school sports event or game. You have $2 in your wallet, but you want a snack from the concession area. Your friend says they can let you borrow some money. So you give the worker $7, but you still owe your friend $5. So we're going to be looking at writing two different number sentences. So I'm going to try to kind of draw a line. 1, 2. So when we go to write these number sentences, how we start is going to be the same. I know that given the problem, I have $2 in my wallet. That cannot change. I have $2. That cannot change. So we already said that we're going to write one as addition and one as subtraction. So when I'm looking at these, when I'm thinking about adding, okay, the next part of our story talks about how we give the worker $7. So if I'm giving someone money, we want to think about how that means negative. So I would want to add -7 to show that I'm giving the worker $7. Now, to think about it in terms of a subtraction problem, a subtraction sign can also kind of mean that you're giving away money. But I would just write a 7 here to show that I'm giving $7 to the worker. Adding -7 and subtracting a +7 is actually the same thing. They're both going to give me the answer that I want, which is that I still owe my friend $5. Owing is a word that would mean negative, meaning that my answer should equal -5. If I had $2 in my wallet, I gave the worker $7. That means that I still owe my friend $5 or -5. Okay. So again, adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting a positive number. If I add -7 or I subtract +7, it's the same idea. I'm still giving away $7. So let's think about this next example. You owe your friend $5 still from the concession stand. Your friend says that he will actually take away the debt of $5. So if I tell you that you owe $5 and then I take away that debt, do I still owe you or do I actually gain money? Taking away debt is actually a good thing. Okay? Taking away debt is actually a good thing. Okay? If someone's taking away your debt, that means they're taking away the money that you owe somebody. And so you no longer essentially owe them that money. So you're actually, in a way, mathematically speaking, thinking about it as like we're gaining money. So we're going to actually write two number sentences again for this type of problem. So I'm going to write the first one as a subtraction problem. So again, how we start, we know that we owe our friend $5. Owing $5 means I'm going to write a -5. Now your friend says he's going to take away the debt of $5. Taking away means subtract, and a debt of $5 also means subtracting 5. So how that looks when I go to write it would be I'm going to subtract that $5 of debt. And if you owe someone $5, they take away that $5 debt, that's really going to put you at 0, meaning you no longer owe that debt. So in this first number sentence, we are subtracting a negative number. If I'm thinking about trying to write an addition sentence, I'm still going to start with owing my friend $5, which would be a -5. And I would actually, if I'm taking away debt, we talked about how taking away debt is actually a positive thing. So I would actually write it as adding a +5, and that would also give me 0. You could also think about it as if I owe someone $5 and then they took away my debt, meaning I owe them nothing, I would have to add $5, which is the opposite of negative 5, to get me to 0. Or thinking about the additive inverse. So this one sometimes is harder to understand, that subtracting a negative is actually the same thing as adding a positive. Sometimes you can think about it as like in the English language, a lot of times when people use double negatives, it's actually a positive thing as well. But essentially 2 negatives will make a positive. So when we think about kind of summarizing this, a big picture here, the light bulb, is rewrite any subtraction problem as addition problem by adding the opposite. Think keep, add, opposite. Keep meaning keep the first number the same. Add, change the subtraction sign to addition. And then opposite meaning change the sign of the second number to its opposite. So for example, if that second number is positive 5, you would change it to negative 5. Or if it's negative 7, you would change it to positive 7. So there's kind of 2 categories of this keep, add, opposite that we can kind of break it down into. So as mentioned previously, subtracting a positive is the same thing as adding a negative. So how this keep, add, opposite helps us kind of convert quickly is I'm going to keep the first number the same. So I have negative 7, change subtraction to addition, and then the opposite of positive 2 would be negative 2. So negative 7 plus negative 2 should also give me negative 9. 12 minus 17 equals negative 5. So I keep 12 the same, and then I'm going to add negative 17, and that should still give me negative 5. If you notice, I kind of circled that second number in both examples. That helps us see that you're actually subtracting a positive 2 and subtracting a positive 17. You don't want to accidentally mistake that subtraction sign for also a negative sign. And then in our second group of examples, we have subtracting a negative equals adding a positive. So if I keep the first number the same, and I'm going to add the opposite. So the opposite of negative 3 would actually be positive 3. So 4 minus negative 3 equals 7, and 4 plus 3 equals 7. And then the last example on this page, we're going to keep the first number the same, change subtraction to addition. The opposite of negative 9 would be positive 9. So negative 1 plus 9 is positive 8. So on the next page, we have some we do and you do problems. So we'll go through 5 more examples together. You'll notice in these examples, they don't have an answer. It does not give you what this number of sentences actually equals. That's something that you can do at the end. If you have extra time, you could use number lines, or you can use your own mental math to try to figure out what the answer would be to these problems. For today's lesson, we're just going to focus on kind of rewriting those subtraction problems as addition. So we have negative 1 minus 5 equals. So keep, change, opposite. I'm going to keep the first number the same as negative 1, change the subtraction to addition, and then the opposite of positive 5 would be negative 5. So it would be an equivalent addition number sentence. Number 2, I have negative 20 minus negative 7. So I'm going to keep negative 20, change the subtraction sign to addition, and then the sign of my second number is going to become its opposite. So this is negative 7, and I'm going to actually add a positive 7 then. So negative 20 plus 7 would be my addition sentence. And number 3 is in keep, change, opposite. Keep the sign of my first number, change subtraction to addition. The opposite of negative 11 is positive 11. Number 4, keep negative 10, where I start cannot change. Change subtraction to addition. And then the opposite of my second number, the opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. So this would become negative 10 plus negative 10. 7 minus 16, keep the sign of my first number, change subtraction to addition. change the sign of my second number to its opposite. So positive 16 will become negative 16. So 7 minus 16 is equivalent to 7 plus negative 16. So when you're done with these, you should try the you do problems below. There's 5 more examples. So finish rewriting those subtraction problems as addition. If you're done, double check your work and then go back and find the sum and difference for both the we do and you do problems, and then check with your teacher for the answers. Thanks for listening and good luck.